Hey, so, you know what? I hope you don't think I'm like sick or something, but I hate to say this. It's not very socially acceptable, but you know what? When my dad died, I was not sad. Not for a minute. And then when I realized I was the sole survivor of this gene pool, I was pleased. Kind of weird, huh? So like, my sister and I, separately from each other, we both, when I was a teenager, in fact, I don't know how old she was, but I made a commitment to myself that I would never have children. And I clearly stated, the insanity ends with me. And I didn't know what my sister was going to do, but we talked a few years later, and she had made the same commitment. We both said the exact same words. So when I realized I was the only one left, I was pleased. And then, when it hit me that I inherited everything, I was amused. Because, property and ownership was like a thing with him. Like I remember one time I was at home, I was a teenager, I was on the phone with a friend, and I said, we're just talking, blah, 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 and I said, hey, why don't you come over to my house? Which is how people talk, right? And he just exploded like a volcano. This is not your house. This is my house. I paid for it, and I pay for everything in it, and I let you live here. Don't you forget it. Well, okay then. So it felt like sweet justice that his precious house was now my house. Yes. So, in the house, I never thought of living there, though. I mean, I couldn't even, I don't like the town. I don't want to be there. It's like a couple hours away from where I live. But my friends, they kept saying, oh, Carol, you should keep the house. It's yours. Keep it and move back here. Da, 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 well, fun. I don't know. So I went forward with the estate sale. Because stay or go, I'm going to gut the house. It's a mess, So had the estate sale, and it's all over. And I mean, there was nothing left. Nothing in that house. There was no floors. There was no light fixtures, no window coverings. Everything was gone, even a tube of toothpaste I'd left out for the next morning. It was all gone. And I thought, I really don't think I want this. But in fairness to my friends, I think I'll just go in this empty house, empty, silent house, and just kind of get a feel. Could I stay here? So I went in the house, and I looked around, and it was weird. It was empty, and it was silent, except for the voices coming out of the walls. The voices of my past, the voices of my whole life, my childhood. And all of a sudden, I was walking through all the rooms, and I just started feeling like dirty. And I was having trouble breathing. And it felt like the walls were going to crush me. And I could hear the screaming and the yelling. And the cries of a terrified child. No more daddy, no more daddy, no more. And I could feel the emotional and the mental and the physical pain of my whole life. And I could hear and I could feel my father's belt slapping my naked body. And I could over and over and over again. But I never cried. Get him. I never cried. And I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck sticking up. Seeing my father staring at me constantly, just waiting for me to make a mistake, because the slightest mistake, even putting a glass back in the cupboard just like a quarter of an inch off the mark, would be an excuse for him to take his belt off. Just always watching for an excuse. Children weren't tolerated in that house. So there's no way I could live in this house.